I want to introduce Leslie Ellis to the stage. Welcome, translationpleas.com.
So yesterday you said, and I quote, there's over 100 million households longing to be free.
Yearning to be free, yes.
Yearning to be free, from their multi-channel video, whatever. And then a few minutes later you said that your VieraCast is a walled garden that's not open.
Yes.
Can you resolve those two statements?
Yes, they're not free. So there's no question in the development, at least from our standpoint in the IPTV space, that ultimately televisions will include browsers and multiple decoders that will allow consumers to access whatever content they want. Just like so many other platforms out there, we are in our infancy today, and while we're delivering a lot of content, we have a lot of improvement that we have to make before we fully satisfy what consumers want. So there's no question that consumers want the choice that we all hear so much about, and all of us hopefully are working hard to make that happen. So we believe we'll get there, and today we have a walled garden. We continue to add more applications constantly, and ultimately we believe we will get to that point.
All right, so speaking on behalf of everyone out here who's a developer, say I have an application, and I'll even tell you what the application is because I want someone to design this someday, that I'm watching video on the gadget, and then I go like this, and I shake it at my TV screen, and it makes a sound like and the show shows up on my TV. That would be a great application. Say I wanted to pitch that to you to be part of VieraCast. What has to happen on your end and on my end for that to become a consumer reality?
Now, does it have to make that sound?
Yeah, pretty much has to make that sound. You know, like a splat sound.
So, it's a great question. And I think many of you are saying, we build all this really cool stuff. Why can't we just get somebody to put it in? So let me share some details with you, because I believe that many of you can be successful in going to companies like us, which are kind of like the Borg in many ways, I imagine, when you look at it from the outside, and try to convince us to incorporate new technologies and features. So there's going to be a series of questions that we will always go through when you bring something to us. Does it cost us anything? Right? If it costs us something, whether it's engineering, back-end, licensing fees, lawsuits, returns, whatever, if it costs us something, what is the value we're going to receive? In other words, by incorporating this into a TV or into any consumer electronics product, will the consumer pay more for it? Will they give us more share as a result of having it? Will it differentiate us to our competitors? So let me give you a real specific example. Several people in here and a lot of people in the industry would love to build these new user interfaces for televisions. And I will tell you that we haven't yet delivered the best user interface for the television because my mom hasn't called me and told me she's happy yet. So a lot of people come to us and say, look, we got this great user interface. We'll use DLNA, we'll use IP, we'll use a whole bunch of stuff. We'll take all the content in the known universe and we'll make it available easy in this one little single remote that has one button on it, and when I press it, it says make it happen. Or I shake my phone at it or whatever I want to do. My immediate question is going to be, that's wonderful. Now, are you going to sell this to everybody or just me? And so when people go into retail to see that sea of televisions, are all the user interfaces going to look the same? So where's my value? Now, if you want to sell it only to me, we'll have a conversation. If you would like to expand your business beyond, you know, the gazillion sets we sell per year, products or whatever, then we have a problem, right? So one of the major issues that happens when people want to bring applications to us is, remember, we crave differentiation as well. So if you're going to build an application for us, please remember that I will not, in general, accept an application on our products that's going to show up on somebody else's product and going to make our products look essentially the same. Because then all we are is a really, really expensive, big computer monitor. And in case you haven't looked at the financials for computer monitor businesses, they're even worse than the TV business.
So no cost, and it has to be exclusive.
Well, there can be cost, but then there has to be real value, and you're going to have to convince us that we're going to sell more or we're going to have more share. And it cannot commoditize our product. Therefore, some degree of exclusivity or uniqueness that brings out the special benefits that our product brings to a consumer.
So how's that working out with Amazon and Netflix?
That's a great question. So
they're on every TV, right?
they're not on every TV, but it almost feels like it.
At CES, at Blockbuster, Amazon, Netflix.
Well,
everywhere you looked.
That's right. So, it's not a perfect world, right? So when you go into the VieraCast user interface, there is an application that's there called Amazon VOD if you want that. But you have to go into the VieraCast user interface. You have to use our product. We're not really the gatekeeper, but it's our UI. So I want to make sure that you understand the difference in how we see that. We're only trying to have control in order to maintain a reliable user experience, and we will relinquish that control as we get better at it, so that in fact we're not controlling the choices the consumer's making. So I want you to know, we do not want to be a gatekeeper, and our goal of the walled garden is not to force the consumer onto some path. So we'll get better at that. But we also have to offer the consumer what they want. And so we talk to virtually every content provider who will come to us and says, we've got this really cool application we think belongs on VieraCast. So I would imagine over time that if you could imagine VieraCast as this tiled screen of applications, there could be thousands. So if they want Amazon, it's there. If they want Netflix, it's there. If they want whatever, it's there. So that's offering people what they want, but we believe we're differentiating it in the fact that we make it easy, we make it simple, it's one remote, doesn't require a mouse, a separate PC, a whole bunch of stuff. Because I'm a geek who has computers attached to every TV, but that's not how consumers are. Very few consumers actually do that are like people who can afford to buy TVs. So
a few apps now going to hundreds of apps.
Right.
It feels just like the beginning of cable when there was a few channels going to hundreds of channels. But the 3D, I have a 3D question for you. So
but you don't have to watch them all. You're not going to pay for them. We're not going to tell you what to watch and what not to watch. And you can decide what to do based on that application. And all of those applications will compete with each other to provide value to the consumer. So we hope by this flowering that somebody at Amazon might say, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we can allow you to also record this to the SD card in the SD card slot that's in every one of those Panasonic TVs and take it out and put it in your BlackBerry when you get on the plane. If there's enough competition, this kind of portability and usage will also flower.
Okay, 3D. So you mentioned you're selling 3D TVs and 3D players. What I'm trying to keep an eye on is how many 3D glasses are out there, because it's really not clear how many people are buying 3D TV because it's 3D or because it's an HD TV that has 3D as an option, widgets as an option. So where are you on the glasses?
So
how many do you expect to sell based on the sets you sell?
So we'll make a formal announcement next week, but when you buy our BD player, there'll be some glasses bundled with it. I'm not giving the quantity because we haven't made the formal announcement. We will sell additional glasses as options to consumers who want the glasses and who need more than the sets that they already have. We believe that there'll be some level of compatibility between the different manufacturers for glasses, particularly among the major manufacturers. So people will be able to share glasses in the household and perhaps when they go see other events. So we don't see the glasses as such a huge issue. And let me give you a little background on that. Last year we had 3 tractor trailers, which were big portable 3D theaters with a 103-inch plasma inside and a 3D Blu-ray player. Now, I know that's a fairly typical television size, but I'm teasing. If you can lift one, you can actually have one free. But we toured the US and we had just south of 1 million consumers actually see 3D. We asked them what they thought about 3D and about wearing glasses before they went in, and we asked them after they came back out, same set of questions. What we learned was going in, don't really like the idea of glasses, don't want to wear glasses, and 3D is for kids. When they came back out the other side, better than 50% of them said they would consider buying a 3D in their next television purchase. And while they don't really love having glasses, they would certainly wear them and use them in order to have the experience. Pretty dramatic shift.
Let's take a brief walk down the love fest between cable and CE.
Oh my gosh.
So this goes way back. When I first came into the industry with analog, there was multi-port. How do you define a cable-ready TV? But we'll just look at the last like 10 years or so, starting with Firewire, your baby. So
Ouch.
it is, well, it was, right?
Kind of.
Okay. So right now, if you're a cable operator, it is against federal law to deploy a set-top box that does not have a 1394 Firewire connector. There's about 20 million of them out there, and the connector is about $20. So that's $400 million spent. So if you ask any cable operator how many have been used, like I asked a guy last week who has 5 million cable customers, how many have asked for it? He said less than 5. So that's 400 million. And then you fast forward to cable card and true two-way, which, it's very hard to distill this down, cable card and true two-way, but if you have to, cable card is what made the hardware portable, and true two-way is what made the services portable in a very, very watered down oversimplification. Anyway, right now, if you're a cable operator, it is against federal law to put out a set-top box that does not have a cable card receptacle, and the spend on that one, there's 18 million of them out there now. And the spend on that one was $1 billion. And that was another CE-initiated thing because you guys wanted to be able to sell set-top boxes and TVs at retail. So this year's CES vanished. No true two-way. Can you resolve that for me?
I can't resolve it, but I can certainly try to explain it. So
you're up to 1.4 billion
so
in cost incurred on the cable side.
that's a rounding error, I understand, in cable's P&L. But to us, that's real money. But so let me share. So the American consumer is not happy with the environment they're in. The reasons why are varied, but they're not happy. And everybody can point their fingers in a lot of places, but what they're not happy about is that the choice and innovation they would like to have, they don't have. So Congress gave the FCC the authority to do exactly to the cable television business what they did to the telephone business, which was establish a national standard so that consumer electronics products can connect directly to the cable systems. And they call set-top boxes navigation devices. And so the cable industry said, yes, but all of our content is encrypted, or some of our content is encrypted. So in order to do this, we need the television industry to agree to respect the security of the content. And so we have this technology that was given to us by Motorola, and you have to get a license for it, Mr. TV industry. And this technology is called conditional access or cable card. And so the CE industry didn't want cable card. The cable industry used cable card and the licensing agreements that came with it as a control point, and this required a negotiation that took about a year. I was the chief negotiator for the consumer electronics industry in the cable card negotiation. Mark Koblitz at Comcast was the chief negotiator for the cable industry. It took about a year to reach a negotiated agreement and more than $1 million in legal fees in Washington and constant bludgeoning on both sides. By the way, everybody has their business model, and none of this is personal. So I actually understand where everybody was coming from, and that's the essence of a good negotiation. In the end, what we were negotiating was, what are the rules concerning cable card? Do consumer electronics companies have to get the approval of cable and an inspection by cable in order to make a TV that can connect to cable? Pretty basic question, right? Another fundamental question. Can cable card be used as a function of conditional access to change the normal expectations of consumers in terms of their rights to record? So we battled over conditional access, the right to record, and those kinds of things to come up with what we called fair use and a bunch of other things that are tied together. It's very complex. So that's how we ended up with this soup. So I joke about it, but here's what we ended up with. We ended up with a national standard for cable card. Most manufacturers deployed televisions with cable cards, and the consumer experience in getting and activating cable cards was miserable. I'll give you an example. Today, I have multiple cable card televisions still in my house. I am on my 5th service call to get a cable card that works to be plugged into that. There will be 700 service calls, if that's what it requires, to get a cable card that will slide in that TV and work. And I'm not picking on anybody. It's just,
Well,
it
it
is
was a
what it is.
federally mandated piece of innovation.
Well, unfortunately, what the federal government really wanted to mandate was allow manufacturers and people like you who build these extraordinary applications, allow this innovation to flower and stop having something stopping people from connecting to the cable network. And where we ended up at, unfortunately, was with cable card. And there were a lot of hopes and things about what would happen with cable card. And just like the 1394 connector on these boxes, the idea was to create an environment where a consumer could connect a recording device to cable and in their home network record, respecting the security of the content, and that's never happened as well. So if you think about where we came from and where we are today, we have progressed exactly zero at huge cost to lots of people in the industry and to consumers, and none of us should be particularly proud of what we've given the consumer today. And that's why there's so much opportunity to improve upon where we are today.
So now, and this will be the last one because I think we're almost out of time, but now you have these two new gazintas into the TV. You don't just have cable, you have Ethernet and Wi-Fi. So I'm just saying that since you are so good at this, maybe the next time you aim your weapon, you could aim it at, like, not cable, maybe Google or something like that.
I didn't aim the weapon. It was a public policy decision by the federal government. We didn't go in and lobby. Panasonic as a company has a very, very deep relationship with major cable providers. We have fielded true two-way, and the consumer has voted it's not compelling. And so we will continue to put every piece of technology onto our products that we believe consumers want and are willing to pay for and that give them value. And if they vote against that, we'll immediately discontinue providing that technology. So we're not aiming at anybody other than trying to satisfy the consumer. And every day, the only protection we have for our business model is the consumer votes and spends money, period.
Okay, I think we don't have time for questions. Are you sticking around in case?
I am, and I'd love to answer any questions that you have. And
thank you, Bob. So that wasn't so bad.
I live for this.
All right. Thanks, Bob. And Steve Reynolds, come on up. Oh, there he is.